First Contact's Aftermath. The quantum arrays hummed softly in the background as Dr. Sarah Chen studied the holographic display floating above her desk. The images showed the aftermath of humanity's first contact with the Galactic Consortium, an event that had occurred just 5 years prior. Earth had been celebrating its newfound place among the stars, but Sarah knew better. She had seen the patterns, recognized the subtle signs of something more sinister lurking beneath the Consortium's benevolent facade. The quantum arrays hummed softly in the background as Dr. Sarah Chen studied the holographic display floating above her desk. The images showed the aftermath of humanity's first contact with the Galactic Consortium, an event that had occurred just 5 years prior. Earth had been celebrating its newfound place among the stars, but Sarah knew better. She had seen the patterns, recognized the subtle signs of something more sinister lurking beneath the Consortium's benevolent facade. The research station orbiting Proxima Centauri had become her second home, a testament to humanity's rapid advancement since joining the galactic community. Her team of xenobiologists had made remarkable progress in understanding the quantum-based biological systems of various alien species, but it was their latest discovery that kept her awake during the station's artificial nights. Dr. Chen, her AI assistant's voice interrupted her thoughts. The latest analysis from the Consortium database has been completed. You should see this. The holographic display shifted, showing a complex network of data points spanning centuries of Consortium records. To most observers, it would appear as nothing more than routine administrative data, but Sarah had spent months developing algorithms to detect subtle patterns. What she saw now made her blood run cold. Cross-reference this with the emergence patterns of new spacefaring species, she commanded, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. The display transformed, revealing a disturbing correlation. Every time a new species had approached a certain technological threshold, mysterious setbacks had occurred. Resources had vanished, key scientists had disappeared, and entire research facilities had suffered accidents. Sarah's hands trembled as she archived the data to her secure quantum storage. The Consortium, supposedly the benevolent guardian of galactic civilization, had been systematically suppressing the advancement of younger species for millennia. Humanity's rapid progress must have caught them off guard, but she knew it was only a matter of time before they turned their attention to Earth. The station's warning system blared to life, startling her from her analysis. Red emergency lights pulsed throughout the laboratory as the AI's voice took on an urgent tone. Multiple unregistered vessels approaching, Doctor. They're not broadcasting identification codes. Sarah's heart raced as she initiated the emergency protocols she had hoped never to use. Her quantum-encrypted findings began transmitting to Earth through a hidden tachyon link, a precaution she had insisted upon despite her colleagues' skepticism. The data would reach Earth instantaneously, bypassing conventional communication channels. Security breach detected in Airlock 7, the AI reported clinically. Unknown entities have boarded the station. Sarah could hear the sounds of weapons fire and screams echoing through the station's corridors. Her security feed showed masked figures moving with military precision, systematically eliminating everyone they encountered. These were no pirates or raiders. Their movements spoke of professional training and specific objectives. Listen carefully, she spoke to her AI as she activated her final contingency. Protocol Phoenix is now in effect. Ensure the quantum shield research reaches Dr. Martinez at Luna Base. He'll know what to do with it. She pressed her palm against the quantum scanner, authorizing the transfer of her most crucial discovery, the theoretical framework for an impenetrable defense system based on quantum entanglement. The laboratory door sparked as someone began cutting through its reinforced structure. Sarah stood tall, facing the entrance. She had known this might happen from the moment she had discovered the pattern. The Consortium would label this as a tragic accident, perhaps blame it on space pirates or system malfunction. But the data was already on its way to Earth, and with it, the seeds of humanity's resistance. The door burst inward in a shower of sparks. As armed figures rushed into her laboratory, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Consortium had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to learn, to adapt, and to prepare for betrayal. Their actions today would not suppress humanity. They would ignite a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. Her last conscious thought was of Earth, and the hope that her discovery would give humanity the shield it needed against the storm that was coming. The quantum arrays continued their soft humming, transmitting their precious data even as darkness claimed her. 3 days later, in a secure facility beneath the lunar surface, Dr. James Martinez received an encrypted quantum transmission. His eyes widened as he reviewed the data, understanding immediately why Sarah had died to protect it. Within hours, he had called an emergency meeting with Earth's Defense Council. The Quantum Shield project would become humanity's top priority, developed in secret while the consortium believed they had successfully eliminated the threat. They would learn, too late, that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology or their numbers, but in their unwavering determination to survive and thrive against any odds. The consortium had meant to end a threat, but they had instead created something far more dangerous, a humanity united in purpose, armed with revolutionary technology, and driven by an unshakable resolve to claim their place among the stars. As news of the tragic accident at Proxima Station spread across Earth's media networks, the seeds of resistance were already taking root. In laboratories and shipyards hidden from prying eyes, humanity began preparing for a confrontation that would change the course of galactic history. The price of the consortium's arrogance would be their undoing, and from their downfall, a new order would rise, one built on equality and justice for all species, not just the ancient few who claimed the right to rule. Sarah Chen's sacrifice would not be in vain. Her discovery would become the foundation of humanity's greatest achievement, and her name would be remembered not just as a brilliant scientist, but as the spark that ignited a revolution among the stars. The consortium's hubris. The grand chamber of the Galactic Consortium gleamed with an opulence that spoke of millennia of accumulated power. High Counselor Viridian, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed both authority and disdain, addressed the human delegation with carefully measured words. "We understand your species' emotional response to the unfortunate incident at Proxima Station," he stated, his translator converting his resonant frequencies into human speech. "However, our investigation has concluded that it was simply a tragic accident. Space remains a dangerous frontier, even in our advanced age." Ambassador Marcus Chen, Sarah's father, stood rigid before the council. The past month had aged him decades, but his voice remained steady as he responded. "With all due respect, High Counselor, we have evidence suggesting otherwise. The attack patterns match professional military tactics. The perpetrators knew exactly where to strike and how to disable our security systems." A ripple of dismissive harmonics passed through the assembled consortium representatives. High Counselor Viridian's crystalline structure darkened slightly, a sign of irritation in his species. "Ambassador, your grief is understandable, but it's clouding your judgment. The consortium has maintained peace for 50,000 years. We do not engage in the barbaric practices you're suggesting." In the observation gallery above, Admiral James Martinez watched the exchange with growing anger. The quantum data core in his pocket, containing Sarah's final transmission, felt heavy with purpose. The consortium's dismissal was exactly what their analysts had predicted, the arrogance of ancient species who had grown too comfortable in their power. Back on Earth, preparation had already begun. Sarah's quantum shield designs were proving to be more revolutionary than anyone had initially realized. The technology didn't just create an impenetrable defense. It could also be modified to pierce any known shield system. The implications were staggering. In secret facilities across the solar system, humanity's response took shape. The Human Defense Initiative, officially a peaceful research organization, coordinated efforts between Earth's leading scientists and military strategists. They had learned from history, both their own and the carefully hidden patterns Sarah had uncovered in the consortium's records. The evidence cannot be ignored. Martinez reported to the Earth Defense Council later that day. Dr. Chen's data shows systematic suppression of emerging species dating back thousands of years. The consortium maintains its power not through superior technology, but through carefully orchestrated intervention whenever a younger species approaches their level. The council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had believed they were joining a peaceful galactic community. Instead, they had stumbled into a carefully maintained hierarchy where advancement was permitted only under strict control. "There's more," Martinez continued, activating a holographic display. "We've detected communications between certain consortium members and known criminal organizations. The accidents that have befallen other species' research facilities follow a pattern. They're testing us, watching how we react to loss." Proxima Station was just the beginning. Council President Helena Rodriguez leaned forward, her expression grim. "And the quantum shield technology? Can it be ready in time?" Martinez nodded. Dr. Chen's designs were brilliant in their simplicity. "We've already successfully tested a prototype. But more importantly, we've discovered something she had only begun to realize. The technology can be adapted for offensive capabilities that the consortium won't be able to detect, let alone defend against." The decision was unanimous. Earth would present a facade of acceptance while secretly preparing for the inevitable confrontation. The consortium's hubris would be their undoing. They were so convinced of their superiority that they wouldn't recognize the threat until it was too late. In the months that followed, humanity's mask of compliance concealed a flurry of activity. The quantum shield technology was refined and integrated into a new generation of ships built in hidden shipyards throughout the asteroid belt. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, incorporating lessons learned from studying consortium technology, while adding innovations they had never imagined. The consortium watched with satisfaction as humanity appeared to accept their place in the galactic hierarchy. Trade continued, cultural exchanges proceeded, and all seemed well. Their sensors detected nothing unusual in Earth's solar system, the quantum shields rendering the military buildup completely invisible. But in the depths of space, far from prying eyes, test flights proved the effectiveness of humanity's new fleet. The ships moved like ghosts through the void, their quantum shields making them effectively invisible to all known detection systems. Their weapons, based on modifications of the shield technology, could penetrate any defense the consortium possessed. Ambassador Chen continued his diplomatic duties, playing the role of a grieving father who had accepted the official explanation of his daughter's death. But in secure communications with Earth's leadership, he provided invaluable intelligence about the consortium's operations and vulnerabilities. The breaking point came when a seemingly routine data transfer from a consortium archive revealed the full scope of their suppression program. Entire civilizations had been systematically held back, their developments carefully controlled, their brightest minds eliminated when they came too close to breakthroughs that might challenge the established order. Humanity had been next on their list, but Sarah Chen's discovery had accelerated their timeline. They had acted too quickly, too obviously, and in doing so, they had made a fatal mistake. Instead of crushing humanity's spirit, they had given them both the means and the motivation to fight back. As Earth's hidden fleet grew stronger and the quantum shield technology was perfected, the countdown to confrontation began. The consortium's arrogance had prevented them from seeing the truth. Humanity wasn't just another species to be controlled. They were the architects of their own downfall, and the galaxy was about to change forever. Project Aurora. Deep within the asteroid belt, in a massive hollowed-out space dock hidden by quantum shields, Admiral Martinez stood before the viewport of his command center. Before him floated humanity's answer to consortium supremacy, the Aurora-class battleship. Its sleek hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it nearly invisible even to the naked eye. But its true power lay in the quantum shield technology that Sarah Chen had died to protect. "Final systems check complete, Admiral," reported Captain Diana Yu, his chief engineer. The quantum drive integration is performing beyond expectations. The consortium won't know what hit them. The Aurora wasn't just a warship, it was a revolution in spacecraft design. Traditional shield technology relied on deflecting or absorbing energy. The quantum shields, however, existed in a state of quantum superposition, allowing them to phase incoming attacks into parallel dimensional spaces. No known weapon could penetrate them because, technically, there was nothing to penetrate. But the offensive capabilities were even more impressive. The same technology that made the shields impenetrable could be reversed, creating weapons that ignored enemy defenses entirely. The Aurora carried enough firepower to disable a consortium dreadnought without being detected. "What's the status of the fleet?" Martins asked, watching as maintenance drones swarmed around the massive vessel. "Production is ahead of schedule," you replied, bringing up a holographic display of the belt. "We have 20 Aurora-class ships ready for deployment, with another 15 in final assembly. The smaller Phantom-class escorts are being produced even faster. We'll have a full battle group ready within the month." The project had been a masterpiece of coordination and secrecy. Earth's official shipyards continued to produce the simple vessels the consortium expected from a developing species, while the real work happened in hidden facilities throughout the solar system. Every ship was built with a single purpose: to shatter the consortium's grip on galactic civilization. But Project Aurora wasn't just about building ships. It was about preparing humanity for a new role in the galaxy. Training simulators ran day and night, preparing crews for combat against technologies they had never officially encountered. Intelligence operations gathered data on consortium fleet movements and defense capabilities. Most importantly, quiet diplomatic channels were opened with other suppressed species who had their own reasons to resent consortium rule. Martinez's communication console chimed with a priority message. The holographic face of Ambassador Chen materialized before him, looking grave but determined. "Admiral, we've made contact with the Arcturian resistance. They're willing to help." The Arcturians were one of the oldest species to be suppressed by the consortium, their civilization artificially held back for over 10,000 years. Their support could be crucial. They had agents throughout consortium space and intimate knowledge of the oppressor's weaknesses. "Can they be trusted?" Martins asked, though he already knew the answer. Chen had been working on this alliance for months. They'd provided proof of their sincerity, detailed plans of consortium fleet movements and defense installations. But more importantly, they'd shown us something we missed. Chen's hologram gestured, bringing up new data. The quantum shield technology. They had been working on something similar before the consortium eliminated their research team. Sarah's breakthrough was building on theoretical work that cost their scientists their lives. The revelation sent a chill through the command center. They weren't just fighting for humanity anymore. They were fighting for every species that had ever been held back, suppressed, or destroyed by the consortium's fear of competition. The next few weeks saw a flurry of activity as the Aurora fleet prepared for its first real combat test. Intelligence suggested that the consortium was planning another accident for a promising research facility on Mars. This time, however, humanity would be ready. The trap was set with meticulous care. The research facility was real, but its true purpose was to draw out the consortium's strike team. When 3 unmarked ships appeared in Mars orbit, following the exact pattern Sarah had documented at Proxima Station, they found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't detect. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 5 minutes. The Aurora's quantum weapons passed through the attackers' shields as if they didn't exist. The ships were disabled, their crews captured, and for the first time in its history, the consortium's deniable assets were exposed to the light of day. But Martinez knew this was just the beginning. The consortium would realize something had gone wrong when their strike team failed to report back. They would investigate, and when they did, they would finally understand the magnitude of their mistake. The captured operatives provided a wealth of intelligence under questioning. The consortium's suppression program was even more extensive than they had imagined. Dozens of species had been held back, their development artificially stunted to maintain the existing power structure. But more importantly, the operatives revealed the existence of others within the consortium who questioned these practices. Not every ancient species supported the policy of suppression. Some had been arguing for reform for centuries, but they had been consistently outvoted by the conservative majority. The exposure of the strike team's capture would force these internal divisions into the open. As Martinez reviewed the battle data, he couldn't help but think of Sarah Chen. Her discovery hadn't just given humanity the means to defend itself. It had provided a way to reshape the entire galaxy. The quantum shield technology represented more than just military superiority. It was proof that the consortium's attitude toward younger species was fundamentally flawed. The Aurora fleet grew stronger each day, its crews training relentlessly for the confrontation to come. But now they had allies, other species who had suffered under consortium rule, waiting for a chance to break free. The question was no longer if they would challenge the consortium's authority, but when and how to strike for maximum effect. In his private quarters, Martinez studied the tactical displays showing the positions of his growing fleet. The ships were invisible to conventional sensors, their quantum shields making them ghosts in the void. Soon, they would be ready to move beyond simple defensive operations. The time was coming to take the fight to the consortium itself, to force them to answer for centuries of oppression. Breaking point. The consortium's central archive, a massive structure of crystalline spires and quantum computers, represented 50,000 years of accumulated knowledge. Ambassador Chen walked its hallways with practiced calm, though his heart raced beneath his diplomatic facade. Everything had led to this moment. Your request for access to historical records is unusual, Ambassador, said Archive Master Xylith, their insectoid form moving with precise grace. Especially given recent events in your system. Precisely because of those events, Chen replied smoothly. We wish to better understand consortium protocols for investigating such incidents, to prevent future misunderstandings. The lie came easily. The real purpose of his visit was far more crucial. Hidden beneath his diplomatic credentials, a quantum-encrypted device was already interfacing with the archive systems, extracting proof of the consortium's centuries of manipulation and control. Back in Sol system, the Aurora fleet had grown to 50 capital ships and over 200 escorts, all hidden beneath their quantum shields. But more importantly, the alliance with suppressed species had expanded. The Arcturians had introduced them to others. The Proxians, the Deneb Collective, and the Silicon Mines of Ta City. All had suffered under consortium rule. All had lost brilliant minds to accidents and pirate raids. Admiral Martinez stood on the bridge of the flagship Aurora, reviewing the latest intelligence. The consortium was finally beginning to suspect something was wrong. Too many of their deniable operations had gone silent. Too many suppression missions had failed mysteriously. Admiral, Captain Yu's voice carried tension. We're detecting unusual fleet movements at the edge of consortium space. They're mobilizing. The tactical display showed it clearly. The consortium was gathering its forces. Massive dreadnoughts, some over 10 kilometers long, were moving into defensive positions around key systems. They were preparing for something, but they still didn't know what they were truly facing. Message from Ambassador Chen, the communications officer announced. Code Black. Martinez's breath caught. Code Black meant Chen had succeeded. He had obtained irrefutable proof of the consortium's crimes, but it also meant he had been discovered. The ambassador's next words confirmed it. The evidence is transmitting now. Chen's voice was calm despite the sounds of pursuit in the background. But they're on to me. Don't wait. Execute Operation Daybreak. The galaxy needs to know the truth. The transmission cut off with the sound of weapons fire. Martinez's decision was instant. Launch the Quantum Boys. Broadcast Chen's evidence on all frequencies to every species in known space. And get the fleet moving. We're going to get our ambassador back. Across consortium space, quantum communication relays activated simultaneously. The truth began to spread. Records of deliberate sabotage, assassinations of promising scientists, orchestrated accidents to prevent technological advancement. Centuries of systematic oppression exposed to the light of day. The response was immediate and violent. Consortium warships began moving to shut down the broadcasts, but for every relay they destroyed, 10 more appeared, protected by quantum shields they couldn't detect. The evidence was impossible to contain. In the Arcturian home system, ancient defense platforms that had been dormant for millennia suddenly activated their quantum shields, based on their own lost research, making them invulnerable to consortium weapons. The den of collected ships emerged from hidden bases, their crews eager to avenge generations of enforced stagnation. The silicon mines of Tau Ceti, their quantum processors finally free to operate at full capacity, began systematically dismantling the consortium's control of galactic communication networks. Every suppressed species that had been contacted rose up simultaneously, coordinated by humans they had never met in person. But the consortium's power wasn't built on technology alone. Their ships were numerous, their crews experienced. As reports of rebellion flooded in, they responded with overwhelming force. Warships descended on rebellious systems, preparing to make examples of them. That was when the Aurora fleet made its move. Martinez watched as his ships dropped their quantum veils for the first time, appearing in the heart of consortium formation like avenging ghosts. The enemy reacted with professional precision, bringing their weapons to bear on the human vessels. Their shots passed harmlessly through quantum shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The return fire, however, ignored their defenses completely. Consortium dreadnoughts, the pride of their fleet, found themselves crippled by enemies they couldn't effectively fight. Multiple consortium battle groups approaching, Tactical reported. They're adapting their attack patterns, trying to find weaknesses in our shields. Let them come, Martins replied, watching as more allied ships joined the battle. We're not here to destroy them. We're here to end their ability to oppress others. The battle spread across multiple systems as the consortium tried desperately to maintain control. But their opponents were everywhere and nowhere, protected by technology they had arrogantly tried to suppress. Every attempt to regain control only served to spread the evidence of their crimes further. In the Central Archive, Ambassador Chen had barricaded himself in a secure data core surrounded by consortium security forces. But he wasn't trying to escape. His real mission was already accomplished. The truth was out there, spreading faster than it could be contained. As the Aurora fleet engaged the main consortium armada, the real victory was happening on thousands of worlds simultaneously. Species that had been kept down for centuries were rising up, using technology they had been forced to hide. The consortium's perfect order was shattering, and from its ruins, something new was about to emerge. Reckoning. The battle for the Central Archive had reached its climax. Ambassador Chen, surrounded by consortium security forces, watched as the massive viewing screen showed chaos erupting across known space. The quantum encrypted data he had stolen was spreading like wildfire, impossible to contain or deny. On the bridge of the Aurora, Admiral Martinez coordinated the combined fleet's movements. Human ships fought alongside Arcturian cruisers and Proxian battleships, their quantum shields rendering them practically invulnerable to consortium weapons. But victory wasn't their only goal. They needed to preserve enough of the consortium's infrastructure to build something better in its place. Admiral, Captain Yu called out, "We're detecting massive energy signatures from the consortium capital. They're activating something big." The tactical display shifted, showing an enormous structure emerging from beneath the capital world's surface. It was a weapon platform larger than anything they had ever seen, a relic from the ancient wars that had led to the consortium's formation. "So they did keep some of the old weapons," Martins muttered. According to the Arcturians, the consortium had claimed to destroy all such planet killers ages ago. Another lie to add to their list. The weapon's power signature was off the charts, building towards something catastrophic. The consortium was willing to destroy their own capital rather than lose control. Billions of their own citizens would die in the process. "Get me a channel to High Counselor Viridian," Martins ordered. All frequencies, maximum broadcast. The crystalline face of the consortium leader appeared on the main screen, his structure dark with fury. You dare to demand audience now, human. After this revolt. Look at your own records, Counselor, Martins replied calmly. The evidence Ambassador Chen found in your archives. You've been suppressing species for millennia, destroying minds that could have helped advance all of civilization. And for what? To maintain your power. We maintained order. Viridian's voice resonated with conviction. Without our guidance, the galaxy would have descended into chaos. Young species lack the wisdom to handle advanced technology responsibly. Like the weapon you're charging now, Martins asked, ready to destroy your own capital rather than accept change. The question struck home. Around the capital, even loyal consortium ships were beginning to break formation, their crews unwilling to witness the destruction of their homeworld. You don't understand, Viridian insisted, but there was uncertainty in his harmonic patterns now. The responsibility we carry, the burden of maintaining civilization. We understand perfectly. A new voice joined the conversation. Ambassador Chen, his face bloody but unbowed, had fought his way to the archive's main control center. We found the original records, Counselor. From before the consortium. You didn't form to maintain peace. You formed because you were afraid. Chen activated a final data stream, broadcasting the oldest records in the archive. The truth was devastating in its simplicity. The consortium's founding species have been terrified of being surpassed by younger races. Their great civilization was built not on wisdom, but on fear. Your own scientists predicted it, Chen continued. Younger species evolve faster, adapt more quickly. Given time, they would naturally surpass you. So you created this system of control, convincing yourselves it was for the greater good. The quantum shields surrounding the human fleet suddenly shifted, becoming visible for the first time. They weren't just defensive barriers. They were a demonstration of exactly what the consortium had feared. A younger species had indeed surpassed them. Stand down the weapon, Counselor, Martins said quietly. Not for us, but for your own people. Help us build something better. Across consortium space, the evidence was having its effect. Ships were standing down, crews unwilling to fire on those whose only crime was seeking freedom. The suppressed species, coordinating through quantum-encrypted channels, were already moving to secure key facilities, not for revenge, but for preservation. The weapon platform's energy signature began to fade. On the screen, Viridian's crystalline form had taken on a different pattern, one that the Arcturians recognized as acceptance. Perhaps, the High Counselor said slowly, it is time for the burden to be shared. The next few days were a blur of activity. Representatives from all species, both consortium and formerly suppressed, gathered in emergency session. The evidence Chen had discovered proved vital, not just in exposing the old system's crimes, but in identifying those within the consortium who had fought against the policy of suppression. A new council was formed, one where age and technology level didn't determine voting rights. The quantum shield technology, which had proven so decisive in the brief war, was shared openly. Sarah Chen's legacy would be not just the liberation of suppressed species, but the foundation of a truly cooperative galactic civilization. Admiral Martinez stood with Ambassador Chen on the observation deck of the Aurora, watching as ships from dozens of species worked together to rebuild what the conflict had damaged. Sarah would have loved to see this, Chen said softly. Martinez nodded. She did see it. Everything we've accomplished was built on her discovery, her sacrifice. She showed us that the greatest danger to civilization isn't young species with new ideas. It's the fear of those ideas. The quantum shields shimmed around them, no longer hidden but proudly displayed as a symbol of what could be achieved when species worked together instead of fearing each other. In the space around them, ships of all designs and origins moved in harmony, their crews learning from each other, building something new. The age of suppression was over. The future would belong to all species working together, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities. And somewhere, Martinez liked to think, Sarah Chen was watching, satisfied that her sacrifice had led not just to humanity's advancement, but to the liberation of an entire galaxy. In the end, the consortium's greatest fear had come true. They had been surpassed by a younger species, but instead of leading to chaos and destruction, it had led to something greater than any single species could have achieved alone. The price of their arrogance had been high, but from it had emerged a new era of cooperation and advancement that would benefit all civilizations, both ancient and young. The quantum arrays still hummed their quiet song, but now they represented not just humanity's achievement, but a promise of a better future for all species who dared to reach for the stars.